And here we are, the final one, Leanne, the final one. This is 15 weeks of this. As we kind of look at the final First Nations Roundtable and this conversation that we've been doing, as people kind of pop on in for the last one there. I see there's like 28 of us in the room now. Leanne, what are your thoughts? What are you thinking at this point in time as we approach this final one?
Well, it's an interesting week, I think, across the country. And as we were just talking about with COVID, you know, we began 14, 15 weeks ago into this whole pandemic. And now we find ourselves on the final 15 weeks where it's rearing its ugly head in Melbourne. You know, I think, you know, the concern probably for me personally is that it doesn't reach over borders. I mean, we've already got someone in Darwin that's flowing in. But, you know, it is what it is. Is this the second wave, Wesley, that we're facing? I haven't heard that from government, but, you know, we've been told from the beginning that there is the potential for a second wave. Is this what we're having now?
Well, be interesting to see. I mean, I think if nothing else, it's actually a sign that we should remain vigilant about what we need to do, how we need to stay in connections with each other, how we need to look after each other continually now that, yes, we've had these 3 or so months, but in fact, there's more to come, and we just need to not lose focus at this point in time. There's about 36 of us in the room now. And there's a sense too, I think, Leanne, of finally then our federal government especially hearing us and coming with a package to help us out. But as we said last week, doesn't feel like it's enough necessarily to get us through where we need to be. It's easily like a third or maybe even a quarter of what we thought we needed to help us through. And we're just, again, we're caught in this constant sense of we're being asked, especially in the arts community, to not go to theatres or galleries or concert halls or not go to festivals. And what we're trying to do is really get all that together. And we're suffering because we're the ones who are closing down, but we're not getting the assistance that like aviation or, you know.
Absolutely. And Wesley, I don't know if you're aware that there was a program on ABC with Charlie Pickering.
Yeah.
His program, yeah. And they had an article about that and talking about that 250 million. A lot of it is tied up in grants. So really 250 million probably equates to about $36 million worth of, you know, support really, because the rest is so tied up. So, you know, it's certainly not what the industry was looking for.
Well, to break it down, that 250 million, there's 50 million put aside for insurance for the film and television industry because their insurance rates have gone up. Then there's another 90 million, which has been put aside in concessional loans so that you can go to a bank and the government will underwrite you to get a loan that you have to repay. So that takes it to 140 million. So there's then 110 million left, of which if I get it right, 75 million of that is for open competitive grants that every festival, every commercial organisation, everything can ask for up to $2 million of that money. So, you know, it won't go far if suddenly every commercial festival and things, and then the last 35 million, as I understand it, would be contribution to other kind of grants and things like that through the grants process. But as you say, it's not a huge amount of money for what is $112 billion industry in this country, and we're doing it really tough. Really tough. Just that sound you can hear, everyone, is Gabrielle having her feed, because she loves. Yeah, now she's on mute. There we go. She was having her feed before, and you hear this tink tink every now and then. I was going, yeah, she's hoofing into her dinner because she's been swimming all day. How can she be swimming? It's the middle of winter, but she's up there on Cubby Cubby country, and she's saying how much she just loves to go for her swim. And so she come back from her swim and needed a big feed. which is like, and it's about 48% of it, 48 people in the room now, and we're coming up to about 2:05. Lots of people joining in, just people from Bunurong country. Good to see you there, Christy. I know there's a lot of tough stuff going down in that part of the world, in Victoria. Janita, Hill, hello, Astrid, Ruth, great to see you all coming on board. And many people just having, we thought we were coming out of it, and maybe we're not. And I had this chance to go back and listen to a couple of the early podcasts, these roundtables we did, Leanne. We were serious. We were scared. We were really scared.
Absolutely, particularly with our remote communities. And, I know that, Wesley, you've mentioned this a number of times. And, today we've got a re-signing of the Closing the Gap. It's not what our leaders wanted, Pat Turner and co, but it's certainly shifting the conversation. Yeah. And the leadership of our people to determine where the support services go into our communities, particularly around social justice, incarceration rates. It's going to be an interesting time looking ahead. It's a 10-year map for us for Closing the Gap. Let's see what happens out of this. But I think it's a good step forward.
Well, I'm just seeing in the chat there, Rachel Mazza, who's come on board. Good to see you, Rachel.
Oh, hi, Rachel.
Also saying the massive investment in the war arsenal. We were talking about this before we went on air. $270 billion over the next 10 years. And we still don't have, equity in life dependency or infant mortality rates or incarceration rates for First Nations people. But we can find let's call it $27 billion every year for the next 10 years to build, long-range missiles and to buy things from America. There's interesting kind of values being expressed there.
But there's also an interesting dynamic that's happening in the world. If you listen to the language of leaders saying that the world has shifted, there's a lot of uncertainty in this world. There's a lot of anger in the world. Has COVID, no doubt it probably has enhanced that. But, globally, what's happening with, Southeast Asia, with China, they're all things that, when we've got a Prime Minister that's referencing World War II, I just go, wow, what are we heading for?
Well, yes.
What are we actually heading for?
Well, I'm interested too. Going back to what Minister Wyatt was saying this morning about this reconfiguration of the Closing the Gap and the reportage. What I've really enjoyed is him saying it's now making every jurisdiction actually responsible too. And in many ways, we have to remember that we are a community first, and then government policy layers up on top of that. And in a lot of this kind of sense of our overseas relationships, how do we make our governments accountable to the people at election time? How do we make sure that we express our opinions and the opinions of like-minded people to say, actually, this is what we want or don't want along the way? Look, it's coming up to 2:07. There's 57 of us in the room. It's great to have you all here. Thanks for coming in. And we've got a very special final roundtable today, which is going to hand it over to some of the voices and faces. Well, in fact, we haven't seen their faces, but their voices and their words. Some regular people who've come through over the last 16 weeks to these roundtables and who have expressed their opinions, sometimes very loudly and forthrightly, sometimes in that very beautiful, quiet, thoughtful way, sometimes a mix of everything, But what's been wonderful is to have these amazing people like yourself just all around the country kind of chiming in on these roundtables. But I reckon, Leanne, we should maybe get officially started on this final thing. Now, I just want to say to everyone who's chiming in here now, over the next little while, you might hear this sound, which is the sound of my razor. And I am going to be shaving my beard off during this time as a kind of, well, I'm back now. So I'll be shaving my beard off during this time as a way of kind of saying we need ceremony. And I'm going to use my beard as part of the ceremony. I've been growing it for the last 16 weeks. And I'm going to take it all off right here for you as a symbol, as a sign of what we're doing. So every time you'll hear that sound, or you'll see me kind of, shaving away, you'll know that I'm doing it as part of our sense of letting go and a sense of ceremony as we go through that. Take it off, Rachel Mazza says. Yeah. Can I just say that lots of people have been saying I should keep it, which I think
you should.
Well, I take that as meaning it's always good to have things covering your face, Wesley, because you're so damn ugly. But we'll see.
Oh,
we'll see
stop it.
Anyway, let's get started. We're trying to be serious now. Come on, man, be serious. What are you
Oh, look.
Thank you, Michelle. Wonderful, Michelle. You'll meet some of these people at the end. Welcome to this the last First Nations Arts Roundtable for now, anyway, which we've called Over to You. A real sense of hearing from you and what you're doing. Please pass us on to the next slide. Thanks, Michelle. Of course, Leanne Tjunypa Buckskin and I'm Wesley Enoch. We've been doing this for the last little while. Leanne, what an absolute pleasure it's been. I don't think we've actually had this much time connecting week on week on week, and it's really been inspiring for me. So thank you so much.
And thank you to you too, Wesley. It's been you're such a fabulous co-host, and it's been such a joy to see your lovely face every week, and and working alongside of you.
And what's been one of your highlights out of this set of roundtables, Leanne? What have you been going, this has been a highlight, this is something I remember really strongly?
Okay, oh, well, look, there's many, but look, I think it's a sense of generosity from our community that comes through, and just, people are so under the pump, really. We're all doing our bit in our communities, doing our thing. But, there's so many people in our community that are making Friday afternoons the go-to afternoon where they join you and I and the rest of the team and sharing, just their thoughts and connecting with everybody across the nation. And it's been a real joy for me to watch the sense of not only, it's not camaraderie, but sense of family.
Yeah, absolutely.
There has been a real sense of family and connection, and it's been inspiring for me, and it's really helped me with my anxiety around COVID. Every week I look forward to that connection.
It's great. I mean, in the Q&A there, Eva Mullally saying, "Don't cut yourself, Wesley." I'll be cut if I need to, my friend. Don't you worry about that. And it's great to, lots of people saying how, in the chat, just how wonderful it's been. Looking forward to hearing some new voices here. And that this has been a really great time of connection for many people in the chat there as well, Leanne, which is great to see.
Wesley, can I ask you what your highlight's been?
Well, do I say a highlight? I mean, just this general sense of coming together. But I was saying before, I listened to some of the early roundtables, which we were very scared. We were scared, we were serious, we were worried. And there's a sense of relief that's come over the last few months. I was listening to Minister White, and he was saying there's only been 61 cases of COVID in the First Nations communities. 61 out of 8,000 or so cases throughout the whole country. And you just think, yep, well, we did well. That fear, that anxiety that we talked about, it was real. I mean, I remember I still get choked up about it now, when Wayne Barker talked about the potential impact to our living libraries, our old people, what this could have meant. It still could mean that. We shouldn't give up our diligence now. But I remember I had to turn off my camera. I had to go have a little cry. I was really upset. And this idea of coming together and, as you were saying, sharing the sense of, it could be anxiety, it could be depression, it could be a sense of hopelessness, that we really kind of banded together and helped each other through it all has been one of those things, I think, as Lisa says, yeah, it's unified us more, you know,
Absolutely.
that it actually provided a sense of hope at times. And I'm really grateful for everyone for banding together to get through all this as well.
Yeah.
Next slide, thanks, Michelle. So yes, here we are, the final roundtable. We know why we're here. We're connecting, we're sharing, we've got ideas, networks, and we're navigating our way through it. And, you know, we've found different ways of doing different things along the way. And this week, we're really going to be talking to some of those people who helped us through, those people who have been loyal, regular audience members over the past 16 weeks. And we'll hear a little bit like you and I are saying, what are our highlights? Where do we go from now? So we'll see. Next slide, thanks, Michelle. So a bit of housekeeping that we'll go through in a second. We'll look at some of the things that came out of last week's webinar where we talked about Chosen, which was fascinating, absolutely fascinating, about passing on knowledge to the next generation and how that's happening. Then we've got this amazing panel of people. You can read their names there for us. There's so many. And these people have been regular, loyal contributors to these chats. And it's great to see so many people from all around the country who have been chiming in, listening in, and supporting each other through this time. We'll still talk a little bit about the resources that we've got that are available. And then we'll do our little farewells and a little thank you to the team behind the world back there. Oh, I haven't actually clarified whether we've got a poll this time as well. If someone can just get into the chat and tell me whether there is a poll, because we can come up with that as well while we're doing the housekeeping. So next slide, thanks, Michelle. Just a little bit of housekeeping. For those who are coming for the first time, where have you been? We've been doing so much. Yes, there is a poll, so we'll do that in a second. Just to say, awesome. Down the bottom, if you haven't done it already, you can take your cursor and you can find the chat button, open that window, have a bit of a chat with people. Make sure you say for all panelists and attendees. If you open the chat window and hit the little blue bar, it sometimes will say all panelists. You want to talk to all panelists and attendees so everyone can hear what you've got to say. And also the Q&A. Leanne and I are monitoring the Q&A. If you've got a very specific question, whack it in there as well. And, you know, sometimes we might have to disappear some people because of bandwidth, but I think we've been pretty good at this. And then we have a poll. Oh, yes, here it is, right in my script as well. So we've got our final poll that hopefully you can answer for us. So let's open up the poll for us, please, Renee. So, here we go. Would you like to see the First Nations roundtables continue? Just give us an answer there. How often would you like to see them occur? Weekly, fortnightly, monthly, or quarterly? How long would you like to listen to our dulcet tones for? How long would you want to hear us rabbit on for? 30 minutes, 60 minutes, or 90 minutes? And what day of the week would you like the First Nations roundtables to take place? Many people saying that this Friday is a great way of ending the week. Monday could be a great way of starting the week. Wednesday could be, you know, getting you through the hump day. Any way that's good for you. Just put down a day. We'll have a look at that. And what format would you like to see? Some interviews, some panel discussions, more of Leanne and I doing our interpretive dance, perhaps. We've been waiting to do that. Daniel Riley might be able to choreograph a dance. Yeah, get us through all that. Or some presentations as well. So you can choose which of the formats there. And what content would you like to see addressed? Creative practice, cultural knowledge, creative workforce, markets, digital, intellectual property. And you can choose a couple of these, I think. Yes, you can. You can choose a couple of them. And would you like to see them streamed live on social media? So hopefully you've had a chance to get through all of that and put your answers in there. When you're ready, just hit submit and that'll go through to, it's like some kind of game show. You hit submit and we'll see what comes out the other end. And we give everyone 30 seconds. And Renee, let's find out what the results were. And let's see the results popping up on our screen soon. Everyone, 100% saying, let's do it again, but let's do it fortnightly. Leanne?
Cool. Yeah, I like that.
I like it.
Yeah, I like that.
But 60 minutes is about right. So
yeah, fair enough.
Do like that. Oh, overwhelmingly, people want to do it on a Friday.
Whoa. Okay.
And there's a good mix of things there in terms of panel discussions, interviews, presentations. There's a good mix that, you know, mix it up a bit. But creative practice, people really want to see creative practice talked about some more. And also creative workforce, cultural knowledge, sorry, is the next one. Yeah, so a smattering of a whole range of things. And, oh, here we go, 82% of those who responded saying that, yes, live stream them, send them to the world. We've got things to teach everyone. There we go. That's
and
great.
Wesley, you know, with this poll, with what we've done, this is the third poll that we've done, and that has been a regular outcome.
Yeah.
Or, you know, particularly on those last two, which is fabulous, really good.
Fantastic. And, you know, I made joke yesterday that, you know, I'm the pole dancer here. I'm the one trying to get all the poles together and make it all happen. But it's been pretty consistent. We haven't had to dance much around that. All the pole dancers.
Thank goodness. You don't want to see that from me.
No, not when I've just eaten 4 scones as well. Next slide, thanks, Michelle.
My back wouldn't handle it anyway.
Leanne, do you want to talk us through some of the issues that came out of last week's webinar?
Absolutely. We had a couple of wonderful speakers, very inspirational women in my world, particularly, and I'm sure everybody who was here last week would agree with me. So we had Ruth Langford, and Ruth gave an overview of how their chosen project came together with Uncle Jimmy Everett. And a wonderful leader down there in Tasmania, as an act of sovereignty and a way of teaching young people that they matter. Ruth spoke about how this funding was a way to leverage and amplify their project's aims. This chosen project includes, and if those who don't know about chosen is about intergenerational transfer of knowledge. It's a way in which young people and the older generations come together in a middle ground and pass on important cultural knowledge. So the chosen project included a range of activity, including internships for programs for young people and please forgive me, Ruth, because I know you're sitting here, Naira Festival, which focuses on connecting these young people into family and time spent on country, a really important thing for our young people in this country. It's a 6-month curators program and was run with the Darwin Festival. It's upskilling art workers and to pass on their knowledge and create new work. The chosen funding has been a very significant boost to self-determination and emboldening the community. But also, you know, I think the important thing that came out of Ruth's talk last week was the ability to be able to attract chosen funding, but to leverage that funding from other sources as well, and really build upon not only one program, but many programs that can support their community down there. Vicky Cousins then spoke, the wonderful Vicky Cousins spoke about how the chosen program supports our ways of knowing and doing, and that Western system is not structured to support us. Vicky has spent more than 20 years working with possum skin cloaks and reviving the whole possum skins. And the focus of her chosen project is on autonomy and sovereignty, family and community. Vicky's current chosen project looks at family clan groups and creating a living legacy. Through making and doing, there is language and cultural learning in what she does. Vicky highlighted that all Aboriginal languages are endangered, and her project looks specifically at working with Gunditjmara languages and extended family clan groups on how they want and need to use their language conversationally and in everyday life. Particularly when, you know, language has been broken down and you're trying to build it back up. So how do you bring words together to really bring a way in which language becomes alive again? So she also brings their cultural practices into spaces such as, and very importantly, into hospitals and institutions. Back over to you, Wesley.
Thank you,
Oh
Leanne.
my God.
While I was doing that, I was
Oh my God.
my beard. Anyway, you were too busy reading, but I was
reading and didn't see. Wow, that's extraordinary.
Yeah. 10 years have gone. Next slide, thanks, Michelle. Here we have an amazing array of speakers.
There's a new
Shareena
man in front of me.
Daniel Riley, Jason Passfield, Aleshia Lonsdale, Leanne Dreissens, Gabrielle Quakawoot, Birrunga Wiradyuri, and that's the group. And we're going to go into camera mode now so we can see all these amazing people. So we'll go into this panel discussion. Here we all are. Look at us all from all over the place. It's so great to see everyone. Just to say thank you. Firstly, thank you so much for being an amazing part of this gathering, this coming together for the last 16 weeks. And I'd just like to I'll maybe point to different people along the way, just to tell us a little bit about what's been your COVID experience and how have these roundtables helped you through that? Maybe I might start with Joanne there. Just maybe say the country you're on, introduce yourself a little bit for everyone and tell us a little bit about how your COVID experience. Hey, look, all gone. Look.
I know, fresh. Thank you so much. Okay, so I'm remoting in from the Bundjalung country. I've been working from home in Murwillumbah ever since. And I remember the very first webinar where I came in very anxious, and I remember texting in the chat room, and I think that was what you're commenting on earlier, was the whole anxiety and the confusion around what's the uncertainty was. And, you know, deep down, I've always sort of felt, even since then, there's always been hope. And then I've been lucky enough to have these kind of platforms to tune into, because I'm working remotely by myself at home in a beautiful area. However, it's also allowed me to have more contact with people. You know, I was just saying to Wes yesterday, the old-fashioned yarns, but this way of communicating is really beneficial. And I've been able to encourage new and emerging artists who don't know the industry that well, and just say, hey, look, I'll walk you through how to get on the Zoom thing. You must listen to this sort of stuff while we're in here. And when we come out the other side, then we can meet and have a yarn, and I can tell you more about the industry. So it's, it's a two-pronged approach where we're all kind of evolving with this technology. I'm not an expert, but I think it's really deadly the way we've all adapted, and we've always adapted. I had lots of time to reflect, lots of family conversations, as well as, you know, work and artists reflection, I guess. So I guess the main thing with these tables too is I love the diversity of the voices, the age groups, meeting all the new faces. It was like, oh, who are you? And I want to find out more about you, connecting more with everyone, because even though it is and again, that terminology we talked about, the term isolation to be replaced with physical distancing. So the language use was interesting. The health and well-being was my first priority, because not everyone can connect. But I think we've done really well as a nation. So observing also the whole national leadership, what that looks like, it's a bit scary. And then looking at it globally, just really also with my custodianship hat on, just really looking at that term leadership and just how people are dealing with it from that top level right down. And so, you know, and in the end, I've noticed lots of topics come in and out of this particular roundtable around the resilience in our communities. And I've just picked up, and I've been tidying up my books and looking at them, and I got this beautiful publication about my own great-grandparents, and it was called The Test of Endurance. And I see that as an ongoing journey for us all. And I do believe there's a spirit of hope in all of us. So I just really, really thank this opportunity to also share this. So thank you, Australia Council, and all you mob out there. It's been deadly.
Thank you, Joanne. We might pop over to the other side of the country. I know, Shareena Clanton, you're in lockdown in Perth, having just arrived in Perth from Melbourne. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to start by saying, Kaya Nyang Kwel Shareena, Yang Wongatha Yamiji Baladong Nunga Gita Yoga from Wajak Nunga Buddha, Yang Court, Kart, Wirin Jerpin, Yining Murich, Nyalak Mort, Yogas, Mam and Quarters and Buddhas, Yining Ni, Karajan, Bujari, Kwapich Kwap, and the Noongar translation is, hello, my name is Shareena. I'm a Wangatha Yamaji, Baladong Noongar Yoga from Wajak Noongar Budja. My heart, my head and my spirit is happy, sitting strong with our family, our women, our men, our friends and our big bosses. And it's just really beautiful to be sitting and listening and learning Karajan to the heartbeat of the country. Which is it's very good. So yes, I'm here in quarantine, lockdown for 14 days before I do a creative development with Black Swan. I think this time has been a time of reflection for our home, memory, place, belonging, space, both private and public, and that, you know, we've really been able to create a yarning circle where we can share our experiences and what the technological innovations are, or rather the points of inquiry are, so that we are not fooled into believing we aren't multidimensional and multifaceted in our skill set and creative practices. And I think this time has really been able to allow us to create a sense of self-autonomy by pushing boundaries and challenging various power bases to go forward and operate in different ways.
I think, Shareena, you've been very vocal during this whole time in the chat. In particular, I've noticed you're always a great.
Oh, I'm turning your phone.
You're always a great supporter. You're always, but you've also been a very strong, staunch critic when things need to be criticised. Like, you're not scared to say this needs to change too, which is really refreshing to see that we've got strong voices in our community in lots of different ways.
I think it's about challenging our comfortable conditioning, not only just to affirm new models and frameworks that shifts the landscape, but allow us to dictate what our own terms and conditions are for our own artistry and truth-telling. And I think it's important that we create a critical landscape of difference that engages various points of view, because it disrupts the colonial narrative that, you know, we are able to reflect and shift the language, or that not only just allows us to delve deeper individually and collectively, but kind of understand what the limitations are, what the conversations have. How do you ascertain, you know, some of the things that are a little bit more complex ideologies that tie into our Indigenous ways of being, and how do you, you know, protect and preserve some of the things which I think society very much tries to intellectually and culturally mine, but they're unable to ascertain. And I think like, we have to remember that we come from time immemorial, whereby we read the turning of the tides by the sun, the stars, the land and the moon. We listen to the birds, the waters, rivers and trees. We sit in our ability to be as human beings. I think we feel deeply, and that this is knowledge that is both taught, learned and earned and applied in mind, body and spirit. And I think not only just being connected by spirit to the creator and the ancestors in deep and ancient ways, but you know, I think we have to ask critically what's the narrative we're framing around ourselves. And often in the affirmation and confirmation is the self-deficit positioning, which renders us immobile, and we get caught up in the paradigms of fear, which are both restrictive and limiting to our own potential. And I think that the narrative we tell ourselves requires us to hold and digest information. So whilst I was bound initially by fear, I'm not saying that there was an absence of fear, but there was certainly having to challenge the language of fear and the oppression of things that we so easily forget, and to remind ourselves that we hold our living memories in our hands. And often I shift the self-critique or positioning is a responsibility to breathe life and agency into the language we dream in and the language that we're setting forward for our future. And I don't think you can be withheld in terms of having not just the time for quiet contemplation, which we spend with, and try very hard to avoid with at times with various distractions. But I think it's important to allow for new seasons and strategies to emerge and investigate what our truth is and what's important and where we need to tap into in terms of our imaginations and what our uniqueness is and our distinct standpoints are in the mainstream, and what the frameworks are in terms of how that's implemented. Because Dr. Cindy Trim says that the words that you speak have molecules and molecules have memories. So I think that whilst it's important to engage in dialogue, to remember that we're not hegemonous, we're not monolithic, that it's important to have difference.
Agreed. I see, Birrunga, you're nodding your head a lot there. We might come to you to talk a little bit about, what's your response to this idea? Number one, the technological advances, some of the stuff Shareena is saying there about how we need to remain in a kind of critical frame to make sure that we don't take on the colonial frames as well. I mean, this whole COVID period for you, how's it been?
Thanks, Wes. Birrunga. I'm on terrible country at the moment up in Woodford. I've been considering this since yesterday, since we did our rehearsal. And I think COVID with us mob fits really neatly to our cultural practices of in a lot of ways around the unknown. And the term unprecedented is a thing that's kind of saturated, any conversation around COVID, and this weird notion of returning to normal and all that sort of jazz. And I'm a part of the custodianship program as well. So, coming into that first roundtable, I think it was 230 mob, right? Like straight up, 230 blackfellas from around the continent and the islands coming together means we can strategise at our old, ancient ways of communicating over long distances accurately. Now is real time, so that's exciting. It's really exciting. And as Sister said there just before, about there certainly was fear, but it wasn't about like the media fear or the colonial fear. It was just, we're very good at what we do. Everything changed, so where you get traction normally, so you just had to sort of readjust. But I suppose my consideration has been around, particularly with my colleagues in the custodianship program, because that's been a real source of, really astute observations and input and support. And I guess the three kind of columns within that are, knowing custodianship, being custodianship, and whatever the other one is. One of your custodian mob come to the rescue, being, if I didn't already say that. And I guess the consideration that I've had is, and I spoke to Ian about it, and Jill.
Ian saying doing is the other one.
Thank you, brother. I knew it would be there. I think this mirrors our artistic practices really well it fits in with our artistic practices really well from my perspective only. You're never better than the art. You're never better than your cultural practice. You're always becoming. So for me, this has been, this COVID thing, this response the Australia Council is a very new thing to me. It's only been this year, really. And it's just been extraordinary. I've been, as a business owner and, cultural practitioner, etc., been exposed to pretty much all the rest of it. And honestly, this has just been, really deadly. And I'm excited about that becoming, because we can address this strategically. We've got our culture, we've got our knowledge, we've got our strategies, we've got, our relationships, our connections, etc. And I just think, I'm really excited about it. I think a couple of years east before, which kind of suits us too, that long game, So I'm still focused on those generations ahead, for the outcome of my work. And it's just very, I think, Deadly doesn't really cover it, but that's what it is, what we've been doing and how we've been doing it. And like Joe said, Joe has been, saturating in a very positive way, her cohort and an expanding cohort with everything that's available. And she's not the only one, but probably leading the pack. But yeah, it's been very supportive in that shared information and that. I think that's it.
That's great. Hey, Gabrielle, we might come to you then to talk a little, pop across to Cubby Gubby country there. How's this period of time been for you? And just taking on some of the things that I've said before, how do you think we are shaping our future now, that we just don't go back to what it was, but we might be looking at what the future could be?
Are you talking to me? Yeah, so for me, from the first day that we were in lockdown, so I'm on Cubby Cubby country on the Sunshine Coast, acknowledging where I am. The first song I wrote that came to me relative to what are we creating was a song literally to do with conquering death. So that's where COVID pushed me in my creative side, was literally to not just understand that we're immortal and, you know, we're multidimensional, though with, you know, like everything's your teacher, including, well, for me, also including fear. So the first thing that literally just started coming to me was a song which I've never written a song like that before. So for me, where this is helping take me creatively, and no doubt, you know, others, is into a new sort of space of realizing immortality, realizing that we are multidimensional, realizing that, you know, we are rebuilding a 12-strand DNA, we are doing all of the things from our ancestors, and so that's creatively where COVID has pushed me. So all of my situation, all of my business is the art of string theory. So I work with cultural mathematics, bringing our Dreamtime and mathematics together with culture and, of course, art. So what I found interesting is I've always seen myself as a mathematician more so than an artist, though since I started my business, other people started acknowledging the art side of it. So, and I have a STEM background. So for me, just receiving an email sent out by the Indigenous mobs here through the Sunshine Coast Council, and then just pressing the link and joining the Zoom, it literally coming to these roundtables literally just opened my mind to like, because my business naturally bridges the gap between maths and STEM and art. So I'm more of a STEAM supporter. Though, yeah, meeting up on a national level with other artists, for me, coming from a STEM background, is absolutely mind-blowing that there are so many like-minded people out there that are doing the types of stuff of, you know, similar stuff to what I'm doing, and they are functioning as artists. So literally this whole experience has opened the realm of art on a national scale to me. So yeah, because I mostly...
You think you'll do more of this kind of networking and kind of working in the arts area?
Well, I'm waiting for the time when we don't have to separate the fact that our STEM is embedded in all of our artwork. That's how our ancient knowledge systems worked. We just had a simple little symbol, which meant 10 million encyclopedias, or I don't know how many of a gigabyte of information would have one little symbol that would, and I could some of them onto me today, and one little symbol has this amazing, very infinite library of knowledge, and yet it's an art. It's actually just a piece of art, though it has so much STEM information, like literally information to do with atomic particles, information to do with understanding how an atom can shapeshift. And all of this information was actually stored in our art. So for me, coming in from a STEM background and then meeting all of these artists who, to me, are really, even though you might call yourselves artists, to me, you're carrying all of our science, technology, engineering, and mathematics information, though you're just not aware of that yet. And that's how I see Indigenous. For me, that's what I experience when I'm, you know, observing other people's artwork. So for me, it's another step forward in bridging that gap and bringing the acknowledgement of, you know, when we say culture, we're not just saying, oh, this person can dance and sing. We're saying this person has an amazing knowledge of this part of the world. So, you know, it might be just in one little location, or it might be a part of the sky. It might be wherever you have your wherever you have your space. And so, yeah, so for me, this is just, I've been expanding. My heart and my mind have been expanding together.
Oh, brilliant. What a wonderful thing to say. That's we might go down from Cubby Cubby country down to Bunurong country there with Daniel Riley, who's Daniel, before we started in the bit of the rehearsal, we were saying that in fact you're in one of the hotspot suburbs. You're locked down again.
Yeah, I am. Yeah. Hey, everybody. Yeah, I'm down here on Kulin country, on the lands of the Wurundjeri people. And I feel very held here, which is quite nice for me and my family. But yeah, as you said, Wes, like over the past kind of few days, I found myself in a postcode that's been kind of sent back a step, back into stage 3 lockdown until the end of July. And, you know, it's not that different, I suppose, to what I've been doing for the last kind of 2 months. But it was just that little bit of, I think also nationally for us to recognize that this isn't over, that there's still so much that we need to stay on top of in terms of how we interact and making sure that we're enclosing it and keeping everybody safe. So hopefully this is one step back, so we can all together take 2 steps forward. Yeah.
I've got to learn to unmute myself. You think in terms of your practice, Daniel, what does this mean to have what often people have been calling the great pause, this moment of quiet reflection, as some of our previous speakers have said too? What has it meant for you and your practice?
Yeah, it's been really, it's been, as a dancer and as a choreographer, it's been at times frustrating, not being able to gather, not being able to practice collectively in large spaces. So one of the roles I have here in Melbourne is I'm a lecturer, a contemporary dance lecturer at the VCA, and also I've a First Nations dance mentor to the 3 First Nations students we have there. And so I've been all through first semesters teaching from the comfort of my lounge room, and so that's been a very strange way to be trying to teach something that's so physical and practical and tangible via this numerous little boxes on my screen. You know, that's been a real challenge to guide and to really kind of nail down into what these future artists are developing. But it's also been a really good time in terms of my own personal practice to reflect and to really think about ways in the way I want to make work, and how I can do that. And the way that I would like to do that is, and I believe that, you know, a lot of our First Nation stories are made is in consultation, with our communities and with our elders and with the knowledge keepers. You know, I don't hold any of those stories. So how can I work with those people who are holding these stories to empower and to bring to light possibly unknown stories, and how can we work together to create work and to create art, and also ways to present that. So it's been a really good time to communicate and to really begin those conversations. So at some point, you know, and our natural way of storytelling is to sit down, have some tea, coffee, a feed. At some point we will get to that, but the initial conversation has started, and this technology has been really wonderful in that, really, in terms of this each week, to have this kind of reprieve each week where we've all gathered here, that I'm not a religious person, but I loosely call church, and we go to see Pastor Wesley every week on a Friday, and that's the moment where everything shuts down, and I go, okay, what's Wes's sermon this week? And so that's been a real gift, actually, to listen to both you and Leanne, but also to realize that our far-reaching extended kinship network is so far, and it is so much deeper than I could have comprehended. And so what's been really nice is to hear and to see various ranges of stories, some different pieces of country and languages and song, and how people are connecting to their culture, and how our culture is continuing and will continue to thrive, you know, through COVID, as it has been, and beyond. Because as numerous people are saying, and will always say, this isn't the first disease or or imported disease that we've survived. So we will continue to survive and to thrive at the end of this, and we will be more resilient because of it.
Agreed. There's Joseph Lafferty saying, I think, referring to some of our northern brothers and sisters up there, the warmth from the north. You know, the idea that there's a warmth of heart as well as warmth of spirit. And a couple of people talking about how clean cut I now look. Which is lovely. Thank you very much. It's always good to, I don't actually know whether that was a compliment or not, but we'll see it. And I love that people are saying, Pastor Wesley, that's too funny, except Rachel Meza, who says, past it, Wesley. That Wesley's past it, not pastor. So I think that that she's cheeky one from that part of the country down there at the moment. But Daniel, I think maybe I'll take these questions to further along as well, to maybe Aleshia to talk about also the future generations, and something that Daniel was saying there about working with the next generation of artists, making sure they have a sense of vision for the future, hope for the future. Have you experienced things like that as well, Aleshia?
Yeah, so I think with the whole lockdown thing, it's been finding ways to do that rather than face to face. And so it's been interesting getting some of our older, more experienced artists who haven't necessarily engaged with technology, getting them to jump into that world so that they can connect with our young people. And then, you know, some of our communities have used, during the lockdown, they used their exercise time as a way to sort of connect with country and connect, you know, in different ways with community as well. So yeah, definitely it's a really important aspect of passing on that intergenerational knowledge, you know. So yeah, the whole lockdown put a bit of a spanner in the works, but I think people have been really creative in the way that they've looked at how we can get around that, use technology as a tool to get around that obstacle that we've had with that.
Unmute myself. I remember that there was a strong sense, Leanne, you might remember this too, where Dee at Alpha Rink was talking about everyone's freezers are full, everyone's going out fishing, everyone's kind of spending time with each other.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. There's time to go out, hunt, fish, make sure everybody's fed, everybody's looked after. And I think that's just, incredible. And that's what we're doing right around the country. We're always making sure that, you know, our elders, each other are looked after, checking in. And I think, you know, very much the roundtables are about that. You know, an extension of, you know, our extended family, making sure that we're checking with each other. So it's been fantastic.
But Aleshia, I'd like to ask you then about what have you done personally to cope during all this period of time? And what's the roundtable meant for you?
So personally, it was very interesting with the whole homeschooling and working from home. That was really interesting. But I think still finding ways to get out on country, you know, as a family. I think that sort of kept me sane through the whole thing. I think, you know, the round table every week was something to look forward to because you had that connection to other people. But even in terms of like the staff at Arts Out West, like we've actually probably connected more now through Zoom than we did previously because I don't work in the office. So in some ways there's been more connection. But yeah, definitely the value out of the roundtable was that highlight of the week where you had the opportunity to connect with other people, to learn, to feel supported, even though we're all in different places. So yeah.
Yeah, great. I mean, in many ways, Jason, I'm coming to you now. This notion of how we keep learning from each other. Do you think we'll continue to do that? We've been doing it anyway, but now this sense of, even in these last few speakers, we've just jumped around the different parts of the country from one side to another, which is, as I think Birrunga was saying too, these technological advances have meant that we can make these connections so much easier. Do you think that these will continue, or how you might continue to do them as well?
Oh yeah, Wesley. Look, technology to me, like I sort of like have adapted to it maybe in the last 20 odd years very slowly compared to everybody else. Because I was like one of those old dinosaurs that still paints on canvases and does all the traditional stuff with the bark and all that. So, you know, but in a way, it's great because it gives us connection, like how, you know, with yourself and Leanne and the crew in the back room that have been doing all these wonderful things, and thanks to everybody for doing it. You know, it's been really great. In the future, look, it's going to be up to the younger generations, you know, but we need to guide them along the way. So, you know, something interesting that came out from Leanne last week was actually quite interesting that I actually found was that, you know, that elders, you know, traditionally used to look at different people. We are the chosen ones, you know, so we have been picked by different, you know, groups of our clans and all that type of thing. So to be where we are today, you know, especially. So, yeah. But anyway, yeah, look, to me, it's the future for the generations underneath us, but we need to guide them.
And how has it been personally for you, Jason, in terms of how's it felt for you during this period of time? You know, Leanne said earlier on about the Roundtable's been great because we could deal with a sense of anxiety or growing concern or discomfort and coming together. How have you felt during this period of time?
Well, Wesley, to me, isolation is nothing. Okay, I actually used to live in a little country town called Birrunga, just south of Burke in New South Wales, 42 people. So isolation to me is sort of virtually nothing. But it's affected me and my business because, like tattooing, I can't go across and go out to the New South Wales borders. I can't go out west to those places to go and do some tattooing out that way because I actually go to the customer. You know, especially like a lot of our peoples can't afford to go into town, you know, like major regional towns and stuff like that. So it's also affected a didgeridoo business that I was setting up just before COVID and all that type of thing too. So yeah, look, it's affected us all in so many ways. Anxiety and all that increases, but what I do is I throw myself back into my artwork because to me, if I'm not practicing culture every day, it's going to die. And that's just my opinion on that. So yeah.
And I'm going to ask everyone this in a second to just think about a highlight. What's been one highlight or one feeling, one moment that you've gone in the Roundtable? I remember this moment, and this has been very important. Earlier on, I talked about Wayne Barker and the sense of fear early on about the community that really rattled me and made me go, right, I better do things. And I remember talking to family on Stradbroke Island and this whole idea of should we close the community down and, you know, make sure that tourists don't come across. And we escalated a lot of those conversations. That was a real standout moment for me. Jason, did you have a standout moment or a moment where you go, yep, this is a moment I really remember?
I think all of it's actually been a standout moment, Wesley. The whole thing, you know, there's certain things, but to me, everything stands out because it's actually what we're all thinking, what we're all feeling, you know. So yeah, the whole thing is a big standout for me, you know. And this way of connecting with each other, and it's such a valuable and great, you know, thing to do.
We've got Joseph Lafferty in the chat room just saying the presentation from the woman from Copyright Council. That was a highlight for Joseph, just talking about copyright and what that all meant. Can't remember who that was, but that was one of their highlights there. Who has another highlight? Shareena, do you have a highlight at all? A moment where you think this
that was Stephanie Wesley.
Oh.
Stephanie, your mob, Stephanie Parkin.
Oh, well, of course.
Of course, yeah. Quandamooka.
Oh, all the
lovely Stephanie.
Stephanie, absolutely. Why wouldn't you love Quandamooka people?
Yeah, exactly.
Shareena, a standout for you.
I don't think I have a particular standout. I think for me, it's interesting that because all of it's been relevant, you know, it's I think beyond the initial financial and economic or spiritual suffering endured that we were challenged by, sat an ability to occupy new spaces that we hadn't explored before or embodied with confidence. I certainly wouldn't have known about the Blackfellow Response Grant with Ilbitry. I wouldn't have known about Creative Victoria. I wouldn't have known about the Resilience Fund that was able to really tap into our own imaginations to help articulate our culture and voices in new ways. And, you know, I think despite the initial overwhelming fear and uncertainty that echoed, and for myself, I currently take medication for my depression. I have anxiety. I have panic attacks.
Me too.
You know, despite having overwhelming confidence, I do struggle mentally, and that this time allowed the time to pause and reflect and have a distinct opportunity to be still and silent. And I think all of it allowed an empowering information, which was key to just growing, evolving as First Nations peoples and what the needs were of our communities. And I think, for example, like Mob in the Desert are way smarter than me. Like I can have all the things on the wall, whatever, but they remain, it just reminded us that they remain silent and intimate enough in their own uniqueness that they don't need validation. So what it reminded me was that, you know, it really allowed me to rethink about, you know, how these Indigenous spaces and Indigenous roles and Indigenous our stories and histories are sometimes regurgitated or repackaged, and our cultural and intellectual properties are then exploited for either company bonuses, pieces of papers, quotas, target initiatives, and how much we're demanding a reclamation of ourselves. And I think, and I followed up with, well, I kind of asked, well, what's the follow-up action? And I think the highlight is about being able to remind ourselves of our own strength, our boldness, our courageousness, and our beauty. And what does that mean to thrive in those various interpretations and what that might look like in the future? And I think beyond interrogating our own positioning and commitment to challenge the status quo is to denounce a language that's used to displace our truth, silence our measure and experiences, and create a language of revolution and the action of our artistry and knowledge systems to apply towards a cultural continuum. So I think there lies the engagement. Therein lies peeking open the blinds to remind ourselves of our own remembering and power.
Yeah, a good reminder, I think, too, there, Shareena, about how these gatherings are very important too. It can actually give us a real sense of power. Other kind of highlights, just looking around the room, seeing if, Joanne, what about you? What was a highlight for you during this period of time?
Hey, Wes, yeah, so I loved, I guess, being in my own room. I'm literally sitting here in my kitchen. I got a beautiful view. I could hear all these amazing voices, inspiring people just channeling through while I'm working, uninterrupted, not in the office getting questions, stuff like that. So I guess the comment you made around the Western Australia uncle, I remember crying too at that point, but I was talking this morning with my sister friend Lisa, who's in the room, in the chat room at the moment. We were actually talking about the youth panel and the voices of the youth that came through, so amazing and strong. And I didn't know them all very well at all. And I was just like gobsmacked. And I thought, we're actually in really good hands here. Mm-hmm. And I just, sat back a bit and relaxed after that. I was like, oh, wow.
I must say, Leanne and I talked about this afterwards. I rang her after it and we just had a good old yarn, didn't we, Leanne?
Oh,
we were just so excited.
Absolutely. Yeah. It was so inspirational. You know, when we were talking about hope earlier, there was the hope of our future generation. And we just, exactly, Joe. Yep. Wesley and I are going, that was outstanding. What outstanding young people we've got leading our future. And it was incredibly inspiring.
We've got Alec O'Halloran talking about Nikki Compston and how she was discussing Tanundi and the exhibition and the processes and saying that was a real highlight for Alec, just how that would all worked as well. Daniel, you talked earlier about the sense of coming together as a highlight, almost church-like experience. Is there any particular story or moment that stood out for you?
Yeah, and I was just now like doing the kind of search on the Google because I didn't want to get their names wrong, but I was just also about to say the young, that young generation, Dobby, Sienna, and Emily, who were so eloquent and uncompromising in their message and uncompromising in their vision and in what they want to accomplish. I think, as Leanne said, if that's our future, then that's a little sigh. That's a little sigh of relief that we have a good, strong path. They're cleaning up that river. So when we get around the next bend, it is clean and it is smooth sailing to a certain extent, I'm sure. But that felt really empowering to me too, to hear their voices.
And I think too that it's always the younger generation that maybe they're not ground down by all of the kind of the
Absolutely.
life and the compromise and things that can happen. Aleshia, a moment that stood out for you that you just go, yep, this moment was amazing. Or not.
I think
say,
or not.
Yeah,
You know, it could be something that
it has or whatever. Yeah. Sorry,
No, I think every week was excellent. Like, I got something out of every week and out of all of the speakers. I agree with everyone that the youth roundtable was really good. I really enjoyed like seeing different artists' use of technology and how they incorporated that into their practice. But I think probably one thing that stood out for me was when Cinsa was talking about, you know, sort of that struggle with technology. And so at that point in time, everyone was like, everything's got to be, you know, you've got to get it online and, you know, it's carrying on and everything online. But her talk kind of made me think, well, really we don't. It's up to us. Like, we don't have to be a slave to technology. We can use it to our advantage when we want to. And there's just some things that you don't want to put online, or, you know, there's some things that you have to experience, you have to feel on country with old people. So for me, that was something that really stuck with me. Yeah. Everything was fantastic. No negatives.
Yeah, but that's that choice being a really important thing. We've got talking about when Terry Janke, I imagine, was talking about digital protocols and user researcher and solutions designer, and what does it mean in terms of those yarnings and recognised as art. And also that Rachel Mazza saying that she's loved this particular Zoom platform, how it includes those watching through the live chat and the acknowledgements. It breaks down the fourth wall that separates those speaking and those listening. It genuinely feels like it's a conversation together. And Shareena's agreeing there. Gabrielle, a highlight for you in the last, couple of months? What's stood out for you as a real deadly thing?
When you had the Yirrkala artist, I think was his name Neville? I'm not sure. The Yirrkala artist.
Oh, wannabe.
Wannabe,
yeah. Just in that moment, I was just viewing amazing mathematics that was presented as art, and so that really stood out for me. And the other thing I've really enjoyed is I developed most of the content in my business in the bush. So when I started my business, I didn't even know what a domain was. That was the first day in business course. So attending every week, and not only getting the art perspective, which, many times blew my mind at how many people are seeing language and so important, and, having, focus with that, is just the getting onto the Zoom and literally figuring out how to get a gallery view, or how to mute or unmute myself, and just hopping on like just once a week. And I was deliberately hopping on for the tech training for myself as well, because because I've got such a big technological gap. I didn't even know what Zoom was until the day before the first Zoom that we had here. So just literally coming from where because most, I hang out on the beaches and draw artwork there, and I get paid to go to the beach. So I don't spend much time with technology. So this is a beautiful way to just gently get me used to it. And so I enjoyed figuring out the tech as well. It's probably simple for everyone, though. That's okay.
Well, I know that, Simple Murray here, just like, I now tell a whole lot of white fellas how to do it, because we've been having such an experience. Like, oh, no, you got to do this and do it in the chat and make this. I'm proper upmarket now, but this whole idea of just being able to say, this is what we need to do and how we're going to do it. And now, old aunties getting on FaceTime and just kind of, bossing.
Yeah, with the grannies.
Bossing around from everywhere.
You know what I love about it is that we've learnt together. We've been all of it in this together. When we started the roundtables, I was so anxious. I hate tech. I don't hate technology, but I find it always goes wrong, for me. And it was through this process that I was able to build my confidence around Zooming and doing a whole, to the point where, you know, I had the confidence from our family to come together on a Sunday evening for an hour and all talk together. Now, I wouldn't have done that if I hadn't have done this roundtable. Because, you know, you just don't go there. So, yeah, it's been a wonderful experience.
And
something to be scared of.
I'm going to pop to Birrunga and say, what's been your highlight there? Love, what's been up for you?
Oh, thanks, brother. Walking, that was ridiculous. So deadly, that, brother. I think, though, I sort of echo the sentiments of Brother Jason there. It all has been and it remains, you know, really a standout. But I'll tell you why. You know, this is proper community. You know, we've come together, and firstly, I'm surrounded by blackfellas. When it, you know, once a week, I'm surrounded by blackfellas. It's not a funeral. I'm not going into a prison, and it's not NAIDOC, right? So, and it's us. So that's incredibly valuable, you know. But I think it's the empathy that's within community, right? And again, that's incredibly valuable as a resource. And this has facilitated that nationally, you know, if not, I don't know, I might be overseas as well, but it's facilitated that nationally at a time in history that, you know, people will talk about, you know, forever about this unprecedented thing. The way we're responding, you know, look out.
Well, that's the thing that I think Leanne's saying that too. How we're responding is actually teaching the rest of the country what our values and how we should be looking into the future. Watch out, Ali Murphy Oates there she's cutting onions, she says. Or she just had a little sniffle cry there. She's getting all emotional being there. Big hugs to you, Ali, as well. Hey, we're coming up to an end because we want to make sure there's enough time to welcome out the technical team that's sitting in the background. I just want to take Leanne this last moment to just focus on the future. And the polls have said pretty clearly that we should continue these in some way, maybe fortnightly, maybe on a Friday, maybe, you know, to have chats and things like that, but to continue this, taking some of the notes here. But I want to ask our panel now, just to say, project into the future and to say to those who are listening in, what do you think the future holds? What should we be doing as artists, artistic leaders, as cultural workers, as people in our community? What do we think the future is? And I won't even tell you. You just put your hand up and kind of get in there. So, you know, when you're ready to speak. But this whole idea of going, what is it the future is? Gabrielle, I see your hand go up there.
Yeah. So for me, the future is that, for those of us who've used this time to connect to country every day or whatever, to really embrace the significance and importance and cultural art practice. So just, if we could carry those things on into the future from what we've been able to experience, literally keeping the culture alive.
What's one practical thing you'd say to anyone listening in, to say, let's do this one thing, or, you know, at least one of these things? What's the thing you would give as a piece of advice there, Gabrielle?
That each day acknowledge if a tree touches you, or if a insect comes into your space, or if a frog croaks, you know, and to really one thing that you could is to really be aware of nature, no matter where you are, even if you're in the middle of the city and you just have a mosquito that flies past, acknowledge that and really, you know, continue that connection to nature, however you can, through acknowledging just a plant or an insect or an animal, and do that every day though. So at the end of the day, you can just say, okay, like just before I had this little, I don't even know the name of it, but this little bug just came into so I like showed it to the screen. So for me, just acknowledging that one thing that connects you to nature physically, literally and spiritually each day. That's pretty much it, what I'd reckon.
I know I've been on the record talking about the ibis, you know, the bin chicken, how with no food in the bins, there's been this amazing sense that these birds have become white again. And just as Sydney, I'm here in the country, as Sydney starts to get active again and the bins are starting to fill, these bin chickens are getting dirty again. And it's just really kind of going, oh no. these birds that we had the chance to be clean and elegant, and now we're just chucking our rubbish in the bin and they're going in the bin again. So anyway, a little bit of disappointment there. What other sense of the future others might have to share? Who's got a sense? Daniel there, give us your view.
Yeah, I think for me, what's been really nice about this whole, one of the takeaways is being able to, as Gabrielle said, is to really acknowledge our surroundings and really acknowledge where we step, how we step, what we're stepping on, what we're stepping over in terms of our natural environment. So I hope that we've all gone back numerous gears. We've slowed down. We've been, Mother Nature, she sent us inside to think about our actions and to think about how we've been treating her and overlooking her. So I would hope that when stuff starts to open again, that we can, don't forget the importance of our environment and how important also that is to us as mob, as First Nations people, that we can't take it for granted anymore, I think. And so for me especially, I'm definitely going to take that into when I come out of lockdown in 4 weeks. But whenever I get to come back out into the world, and as we start to move around, especially in the arts world, Wes and I, you were talking yesterday about our carbon footprint as artists is crazy. We're traveling, we're here and there, and just sometimes for like a meeting, you would fly from Sydney to Brisbane for a meeting, but also this technology has enabled that we don't need to do that anymore. So there is definitely this sense of slowing down and acknowledging country and continuing that great respect that I hope that we've all gathered through this time.
Daniel, do you think that in terms of carbon footprints, that, if the world looking forward is about us connecting more like this on Zoom, that there would be occasions yearly that, once or twice a year, where perhaps all of that money is spent on travel and blah, 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 reducing the carbon footprint, that we could gather in a way as First Nations people.
Absolutely.
Because I think the personal connection is really important when it happens.
Yep.
But is there a way of flipping this now?
Yeah,
is there a new way of gathering?
Yeah. Oh, and look, I don't know the answer to that, but I would hope so. I think it's this idea of when we travel, as an artist, as a creator and a dancer, or whatever it is I'm doing. For 12 years, I toured the nation and the globe when I was with Bangarra Dance Theatre, and there's a lot of travel and a lot of touring in that. And definitely what I've taken out of that is, if we are to go somewhere, I think it's about spending quality time there. So it doesn't just become about I'm traveling to your country, I'm going to take something and I'm going to go. I think there's that sense of our cultural reciprocity as well. So if we are going to gather, that we gather for a period of time, so that we can, if we're talking carbon footprint at some point, that it's not, at some point you travel somewhere, but you let that settle. So you're actually giving back to country when you're there, whether that be in relationships or culture and learning and education, and whoever's country you travel to, with the community and the elders and the storytellers and the holders and the keepers. And it's about making the most of that travel, I think, as opposed to, like I said before, traveling for a 90-minute meeting and traveling home. It's that kind of...
Yeah, it's a great idea. Rachel Mazza says in the chat here that airlines are threatened by what we've all discovered is possible on Zoom. And Christy's saying, be changed by the country you travel to, which is lovely. Actually go to a place and let that place affect you. Shareena, you had your hand up there for a sense of the future, but...
Oh, I think going back on what Daniel said and what everybody's articulated so wonderfully is that, if you take yourself back, you take country back, but also what are you giving to country, and making sure that you're filling up as much as it's not about just taking, you've got to, or receiving. What are you leaving in terms of your footprint or imprint for the next generation, and paving the way for the next mob to come along and to build new or build upon those pathways that you were able to benefit from. And I don't think that, and I think that it's important to remember that loneliness is not the absence of people, it's the absence of purpose. So reminding your court, your heart, your mind, your will, and your spirit, what is your purpose? And understanding that you don't need external validation to exist and to be a human being.
Beautiful, beautiful. Other people who've got a sense of the future that haven't had a chance to speak yet? Birrunga, there you go.
Thank you. I was going to wait, but my battery's going to go in a minute. I don't know how to articulate this distinctly. I'll give it a crack. I think this ridiculous, we've got Chicken Little Morrison running around now saying we need to be aware of all this stuff falling from the sky. And all this ridiculous under, not even support or recognition, this ridiculous pushing down. And I kind of feel like the response to from the mainstream or the industries around our value is like how, our cultural perspectives, intelligences, etc., get diminished and not really, given the clout that they warrant. So I just think the opportunity for the future is with this coordinated and, extraordinarily healthy collective way of gathering in community. If we are astute about it, I think we respond in the way that they have to recognise, which is in a measured, the value quote and blah blah blah. Not blood quoting, obviously. Way, and then to have a very compelling block of evidence that says to mining, to war, to to diminishing our values within, etc. So that's, yeah, and in case I drop out, I love you all and thank you very much.
Thank you. We're going to wrap this section up very soon and we need to move on to some other things. I don't think we've heard from Jason or Aleshia yet about your sense of the future. Do you have anything you'd like to add in there? I see Jason.
Sense of the future, Wesley. Well, we all have banded together on this. So I think if we keep on pushing together and moving forward, we know what's happened in the past and whatever else, but if we just keep moving forward and sticking to what we know and do, I'm pretty sure that everything will be better. But with the future, the technology will be the way to go.
Oh, there we go.
Okay, right.
Aleshia, do you have anything to add about the sense of the future?
I would hope that we all continue to make time, like we've been able to do during this period, to make time to just slow down and to reflect. And I think also maintaining the momentum that we've built, whether it's through this or through other things, just maintaining that into the future, not thinking, well, we just go back to old ways, It's my two things.
Yeah, and there's another sense of complacency that happens out of that. How many gatherings do we have and they go, oh, you'll join an alumni. And we know that once we, go through whatever we do, we go through an alumni, we all go back to our worlds, whether it's an international thing or a national thing, and all of a sudden we don't stay in contact with each other. But I think the impact of this is so great. It's really shifted an axis for us to really use technology now, and we can see those outcomes. This is more than alumni,
Agreed.
It's a way of doing our business.
Joanne's got something to say. We'll bring her in. Just while we're doing that, Christina's just talking about the digital divide. This idea too that technology is great and we should be using it, but there's also issues about how getting the hardware and I guess also the digital access is one of those issues as well. Joanne, your sense of the future.
So I've had the benefit of being part of the roundtables, but also the custodianship, and I want to take my hat off to Ian for pushing that to stay online and connected with everybody, because the process we're going through at the moment is that being. We mentioned that earlier, and it's really helped me understand who I am and what my priorities are at the moment. And I just wanted to say to everyone, just be kind to yourself, just take the time, and that whole connectivity with nature, and that I've been so lucky. I've been looking at the stars every night. I've been lighting the fire. I've been eating healthy food, growing the garden. So yeah, just take it slow and steady and don't put too much pressure on yourself. Thanks.
That's very good advice. Hey, we might just need to. Oh yeah, here we go, Jason. Yep, off you pop.
Joe, I actually totally agree with you. It's actually getting back to nature. Now, like I said before about technology, it is the future. But we've got to look at it this way too. What happens when technology falls? What's everybody going to do? Are we going to go back to our old ways? This is why we, as as custodians and as people of traditional descents from original owners of these lands, is that to me is that we've still got to hold that and obtain that, and so we can pass that still on to future generations, but also keeping that technology, but also just keep that in mind. What happens when technology falls?
All right, we might need to keep moving on now.
Thank you.
Big thank you to everyone. We'll bring you all back in a second. If Birrunga's battery doesn't run out between now and then, we'll find out. But if we go back to the slides, thanks, Michelle, so we can kind of just come into the last 5 or so minutes of what we're doing. Just the idea of the grants update. Just a big reminder, if you haven't already done it, that you can talk to the Australia Council at any time about what might need to shift and change. You might as well go to that next slide then, Michelle. Which is just talking about some of the things that are coming up. So we've got some grant deadlines coming up in July for arts projects, individuals, groups, organisations, fellowships and awards. Cherish 2.
Yay, Cherish 2's coming up, Wesley.
Cherish 2, which is great. Just a little sense of how Cherish 1 has gone, which was all about living libraries, looking after elders, about creative practice, and also about digital workforce and building up. There were 327 inquiries that had 173 applications worth $11.5 million worth of applications, and we only had $700,000 to give away. Just to give you some sense of the overarching demand for Cherish 1, and that there is more money to come. There's more money to come in August, as you see there. Get ready for it. It was $11.5 million worth of applications for $700,000. So it's a very competitive thing. Put your mind to it, folks. It's going to be very interesting and a wonderful mix of all throughout the country and different states and jurisdictions, all getting funding there for Cherish 1, and hopefully those results will come out very soon. And those who haven't been successful, I'm very sorry. It was very, very, very competitive. The Red Ochre nominations coming up now, which is fantastic to see. You can actually nominate people for a lifetime achievement. Also, the Dreaming Award for someone under 30, 18 to 30, to make a new major work. And also the First Nations Emerging Career Development, again, for 18 to 30, really a focus on that. And also more arts projects funding in December. If you don't know any of this stuff, you can get online and check it all out. And those programs will open in those times. And sometimes they close a little later than that. But just have a check out on the website to get all that stuff together. Next slide. Thanks, Michelle. Just a big reminder that, as we were saying before, and Daniel was mentioning, just as in some parts of the country, restrictions are lifting, others are kind of closing down again. So keep on top of this COVID-19 information. There are some websites there, especially in the Australia Council website area, to have a look at. And I just want to, just as we come to the next slide, which is a little bit of a farewell, just these amazing figures here, Leanne, that we had over 2,500 people come to the registered onto the roundtables, an amazing attendance along the way, and a total of 1,300 YouTube video views of the 15 recordings, and another 540 views of the playlist on YouTube. Lots of different ways of getting in there. And just some other things. This was the first year that we did the First Nations Arts Awards, where we had an extraordinary number of people in the millions through NITV, through the live broadcast, through the Facebook streaming. We had people, well, about 5,000 people on Facebook, another 6,000 all up in terms of different views. NITV were reaching somewhere around 2 million people in that month. And also there were some radio connections that we were making, which had another 187,000 listeners tuning in to the kind of stories that we were telling. And this story that we were saying, I guess we've got this wonderful dichotomy, isn't it, about the technology helping us reach so many more people, but also we've got to remember what's important to us along the way, about how coming together is very, very important and how we remember that. And what we might do is just come back to our wonderful faces. And Leanne, I'm going to ask you to just highlight, we've got these people in the back room and we might ask them to turn on their cameras.
Yeah, and join us.
And join us along the way. Ellie and Diego and Michelle, Louisa, Renee, Joanne,
Joe, Sam,
Anastasia,
Lydia.
and a big thank you to Lydia Miller. I mean, she is a powerhouse, an absolute powerhouse in terms of the ability to get things to go and just to move along. And, you know, we all know she drives a tough ship, this woman, this Lydia Miller. Everyone
she has to.
She has to.
She has to.
But she's always the first one to make sure she's got a paddle on that canoe, and she's paddling hard too. Even if she's telling everyone else to paddle hard, she's there paddling hard too.
And lovely Ian, all of you have been just amazing. Thank you for all of the support. Diego, everybody, Ellie, Louisa, you're all amazing people.
No, Diego's my friend. Don't you be his. I'm his
friend.
No,
he's my friend.
Oh, everyone's friend then.
And I just want to take this moment to stand up and give them all a standing ovation.
Well done.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. You know, the success of it is because we've all been in this together, and you're all a part of our success. So
and you had the foresight too. I must admit this, Leanne, that the team here had the foresight that we would need this as a community, as a group, and that we would need ways of accessing information that maybe weren't going to be forthcoming in other ways. And just I can't celebrate you enough, I think, for your foresight, your support, your sense of getting in there. And, you know, that Cherish money, that $700,000, Lydia pulled that out of her muppy. She just made that happen. Like that was just one of those things that wasn't there, and she found it to make sure that it could go out to the community.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
And she's got such a wonderful team.
It's a team of people to make it all happen. So we could keep congratulating forever, but can I say thank you to the panel, Birrunga and Daniel, Joanne, Shareena, Jason, Gabrielle, and Aleshia. Thank you for your ongoing support. And a big thank you to you, Leanne, for your guidance and love and intelligence have really helped us. And it's been a great honor to spend these last 16 weeks with you.
Oh, Wesley, I love you lots. You know that. And, you know, I think you look terrific. But I do like the beard, darling.
You think
I want the beard back.
The next straw poll will have to be Wesley, grow the beard back. We don't want to put in the face. All right. On that note, a big thank you.
Go well.
And please be safe. Look after your family, look after your community. Keep your heart and your culture strong, and we'll see you very soon in the next iteration.
In the next one.
The next one of the First Nations Roundtables. Thank you very much, everyone. All right, love yous. Love you.
See ya. Love you all. Bye.